Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from the Himalayas, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York, Kostubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Rishikesh. We are in the Himalayan mountains at the banks of the Ganga. A matter of fact, if you could see my wet hair, I just got out of the Ganga. If I had hair, you would see that it would be wet right now. Thank you for that reminder, Mara, that I'm a balding older man. But we just took our big group of yatris out to bathe in the Ganga. We just showed up after traveling since literally 4 this morning from Puri. We took 2 planes, domestic planes.
What time is it there now?
It's 5:35. Okay. And we literally got here and just walked to the Ganga, chanted the Ganga Stotram, which we've been chanting all day. Everybody had to memorize 2 shlokas in English. And then we all took our bath together. And it's actually, the sun was just before sunset, so it was actually cold and the water was cold. And I tell you, I feel incredible right now. And Mara, I give points for Mara because she's duty over. She's duty. She's duty bound. And she's like, Raghunath, I'll set up this, because I didn't have time to set up if I was going to take everybody bathing. She's like, I'm going to set up everything. You go bathe. I'll bathe tomorrow, because you're not supposed to bathe at night. Do you know that? There's different beings that go to the Ganga at night, both terrestrial and extraterrestrial.
Okay.
Oh no! On that note, he froze.
That
means we froze. Did you hear that?
Yeah, we heard it.
Hear extraterrestrial?
Yeah, it was a little shaky, but we heard it.
Okay, good. So anyway, that's what happened. We just came out of this incredible. I think we all got a taste for Lord Jagannath this weekend, or the last few days, by just being in Puri, immersed in it. Yesterday, we went to the Konark Temple, which is quite an incredible temple that is now a UNESCO heritage site. It was one of those incredible old temples of India that have been completely attempted to be razed to the ground, but it's such a huge, monolithic build. It's still standing, and it's in the shape of Lord Surya, the sun god's chart. It's built incredibly chariot. And it's built impeccably with the cosmos, so that each wheel of the chariot, and there's 12 wheels for the 2. Was it
for the months?
They call them
12.
Well, yeah,
for 12 months or something.
Yeah, there's 12 months, and there's 2. There's a fortnight for each month. So it's built like that. And so each wheel during the different times of the year becomes a sundial, and they can do the sun according to the they do the sun according to the minute. It's incredible. Now, not only that,
it's a superior civilization, Raghunath, right?
It's a superior civilization. Now, it was also had a 35-ton magnet before it was destroyed, built in like a massive keystone, perhaps, or something, and it would make the deity of Surya levitate. Can you imagine that?
That's pretty cool.
I would immediately surrender to that god. So anyway, that's where we went yesterday. And then we went to this incredible village called Raghu Rajpur, which is an artisan village where they just make the beautiful deities and an intricate. You got to see this painting Mara got. It is unbelievable.
Ganesh
Actually,
with all the Leelas in the middle.
I got that one. I'm not a Ganesh guy. I saw this on the wall. I was like, I'm getting that thing. I'm getting this incredible painting, because you're going into the homes and it's generations of artists. They training their children. They themselves did it. They're like old men my age, and then their grandparents did it, and they have a local artist guru. And I felt like it was sort of walking back in time. And there's little house after house after house, which serve as shops. And it was just like a charming. If you ever go to Puri, you got to go to Raghu Rajpur, even for a few hours. It's just outside of the city. And it was just, it was awesome. And then It got
Yeah.
better. We had a Govardhan Puja celebration, and I have my stone from Govardhan Hill, and I was thinking, how am I going to celebrate this? And it's not like there's a temple nearby. And then Laghima City and Jai Subhadra said, we got an idea.
Hold it.
We are
What do you
gonna
mean
go
there's
out
not a
and-
temple nearby? There's tons of temples nearby.
There's tons of temples by, but just to lug 50 people to a temple and to find out which one, because not
Okay.
everybody is celebrating Govardhan Puja. You know, you got to go to a
Gotcha.
Gaudiya Vaishnava temple, and it's the whole thing. And we didn't know what we were going to get into. So they just built this incredible hill. We went to a local sweet shop and got the best Orison sweets
Mm.
and built the whole hill out of those Jagannath tongues, which I never
Mhm.
thought I'd really like. But they're those,
Oh,
those
come on,
big,
frosted flakes. They're delicious.
there's like giant frosted flakes. They're adult versions of frosted flakes. And I tell you, we built a hill out of those frosted flakes. And then we had different, gulab jammuns and sweets decorating the entire hill. And then I got these sitapals, these like little mini cherimoyas or sugar apples, they're called in America.
Delicious.
And those were like bushes around the hill. Then we got mishti dahi for the ponds. It was
Mhm.
it was incredible. And we all did Damodar Astakam. We danced around the hill. It was gorgeous.
Now,
Check
all
out my
this is-
Instagram.
All this is
Raghunath-
great.
Raghunath Yogi.
All this is great. We're going to put the big news. You guys are on television there.
And I don't know how that happened, but like word got out and all these copycat channels. I sent you one copy.
Yeah.
There was local.
viral.
There was five.
Oh.
5 times we were on the news. It went
It is like
viral.
breaking news. Like
I
the
know.
breaking news is
This
that,
flashing
This
thing
just
going
in,
breaking. This
white
just-
dude from America, and like a globe spinning, like Ukraine, Russia. Oh, and by the way, Raghunath and all these guys from the Lower East Side, and
And they were interviewing.
but it was they were just
everyone.
interviewing us.
Those interviews were beautiful.
They were
like,
interviewing us at.
They were like the devotees that were being interviewed.
Kylie
were-
and Katie Wickoff.
it was like they were right out of the pages of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Like their humility and their appreciation of the experience was just touching.
Well, Kastuba, things have changed. I've been taking. I've realized this. I've been taking
I
people
saw what
on
changed.
pilgrimage.
That the newscaster called you Guruji. Is that what you're going to say? Things have changed. I'm the guru now. Is that what you're saying?
What is?
I saw-
No.
The newscaster called when he was interviewing. He was like,
The guy was
"Guruji."
calling me Guruji.
Guruji. I thought when you said things have changed, I thought you were going to say, because
Guruji,
I'm the Guruji. I'm the guru now, and if you like, you can take.
Guruji, you heard the
from me.
newscaster. I'm the guru now. I want you to understand my position here. It's just a symbol of respect. If a guy's leading a bunch of people through holy places in India, they call him Guruji.
No, it's earned. Guruji. Tell us,
But
Guruji.
if you want to call me
what has
Guruji,
changed?
you can call me Guruji.
Guruji, what has
Yeah.
changed?
What has changed, Guruji? Well, for many, many, many decades, I've been taking people to India since like 2007 or 2008.
Yeah.
And I will say that, you never know what you're going to get when you get a bunch of Americans and Europeans going to, India and sometimes never stepping out of their comfort zone of the United States.
Yeah.
Lori, get out of here. Lori's playing the video right now. But I lost my train of thought here.
Best said nobody uses.
So you never
the
know where you're
internet
going to get
there.
going. When you take people on pilgrimage, sometimes people bug out, they freak out. Where am I going? What am I doing? They're just not used to it. They don't know how to behave. They're looking for sightseeing. You never quite knew what you were going to get on pilgrimage. But all these people, I could say maybe all of them listen to Wisdom of the Sages on a regular basis. And what it does is by hearing the Bhagavatam on a regular basis and hearing devotees speak about spiritual topics on a regular basis, and they probably have their own spiritual practice. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of them do. It's preparing themselves for pilgrimage, and it makes pilgrimage so simple for me. I
It's
used
just
to have
off,
to herd 2-legged cats on pilgrimage. You know what I mean? And now it's like, I don't do anything. They show up, I was like, okay, you guys, you can take a break. They go, okay, let's take a break. Let's sit in the corner and chant together. I was like, come on, guys, can't you just relax? Now we're going to chant. And so they're just like focused. They're in it. And it's just like exciting and fun. And it makes it like a real pilgrimage. They already know how to behave. They're not resentful. They're not angry. They're not, nasty. They're very kind. How can I serve you. It's just an incredible, sweet mood. And we don't have 3 people. We've got almost 50 people on this trip. And unbelievable. And you could say, well, how do you move? I can't even move through India. How do you move 50 people through India? You know how? Like they're walking in perfect step. Because they just have certain parameters they follow. They're kind to each other. They don't criticize each other. They're tolerant of everything. And it just makes for an incredible pilgrimage. So
You know what happens?
we're only
then,
a few
Raghunath?
days in. What?
Is that when you enter that holy place, it's still covered by a thin layer, external layer of materialism. And you can, and you only see that. But when everyone's in the mood that you're saying, and that mood to serve each other, and that mood to giving themselves and with humility, then the real holy place reveals itself to everyone, right?
Yeah, it's no, you see a flower bud and it's closed and it's got some beauty to it. So you can go to a holy place and see, oh, that's nice. Oh, a cool cliff, a mountainside, a river. That's a wandering cow. Cute.
Temple.
You can get into that. But a temple, a silhouette of a temple, it's all very beautiful. But you can't enter it just through visiting. You can't enter it as a sightseer. You enter it through the mood of your heart. And then the entire thing blossoms and you get the fragrance and you get the beauty. The scent becomes overwhelming and it becomes captivating to your heart. And that's how the pilgrims enter in the holy places. You go in the mood of service. You go in a mood of humility. Everyone, we just went to the Ganga, chanting the Ganga Stotram. We've been chanting in the bus all day. These people have been memorizing shlokas all day. They're here to serve. They're not in this mood of it's not like a yoga retreat where Raghu's yoga and surf retreat. Or how can I squeeze the most fun for my sense gratification out of this thing? The mood is really a mood of love and an offering. And it changes everything. And so you go through that veil, the thing blossoms, and you get to experience it in such a high way. I tell you, when we were dancing around that hill yesterday, I mean, just right now at the water, people are just breaking into tears, and you can't even calculate why. It doesn't make any material sense. What do you think about that?
Sounds wonderful, Raghunath.
I know. I actually wish you were here, Kasu. I just want you to know that. Wish you were here.
All right.
There always is a sort of question mark, are we going to have internet today? It's sort of I find that Krishna likes to keep me a little destitute and dependent. Are we going to do it? It makes me eager. So we've been eager to do the show all day. I just want you to know that.
Okay, well then let's do it. Maybe we should, are there any announcements, Mara? Check in on this first.
Yes. We are offering free tickets to our Patreon members for John Harrison's upcoming shows in Chicago, Dallas, and LA.
That's a blow-up bonanza.
Yep. So if you're a Patreon member and you want to go, hear John V. Harrison, just send us a message and we'll put your name on the list.
And we want to thank John V. for just loving up our podcast, supporting us, and in turn, and wanting to support all our dedicated supporters. Thanks to all the Patreon supporters. We really got to keep this show going somehow or another, and it's really helping us stay afloat. If you want to support, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Any monthly contribution gets you within the inner circle where I initiate you into my secret lineage. Hey, where can we post that, Kasuma? Maybe we could post the news thing.
I can try to post it
on
Instagram.
Yeah, and I've shared it on the Discord thread too. So if you're on Discord, you can check for the.
I think there's 5 clips out there. I haven't seen one. I haven't seen one of them yet.
9 minutes. I can't watch this.
I know.
5 minutes.
Maybe I can edit it down a little bit so you get the interviews and a little bit of the other stuff.
Okay, good.
See what I can do.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
All right, cool. So, any other interesting news?
Oh, we talked about it mostly. It's Radhanath Swami was here. It's a great time.
Is he still there?
No, he left
Is he
yesterday.
still there?
He left yesterday.
No.
Yeah.
When
But we'll
Radhanath
see him
Swami
soon.
comes, it is like the whole of New York City becomes a holy place.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited for that.
He met the
And,
mayor.
That's happening, by the way. He met the mayor of New York.
Yeah. A Diwali celebration.
Is it true that the prime minister, the new prime minister of England's a devotee? Is that what I've
He's
heard?
a Hindu. You know, I think he's also strong supporter
he
of
came
the
and
meat
bowed down to
industry.
Prabhupada?
I think he's also a strong, supporter of the meat industry there. So I mean, he came and he did his, offered his respects in the temple to Prabhupada.
Okay, we'll take that. We'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take that. Sorry.
Take that. I appreciate it.
Okay, you ready?
Okay. Yes. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam adirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyanat Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Madatam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam era. Tell us where.
Canto 4, chapter 28, text 28.
I think Kastuba, you got to cut it. Give the new prime minister, cut him a little slack.
I did cut him
A little
slack.
slack.
I didn't get.
I think politicians have different dharmas. When's the last politician that came to the manor and bowed down to Prabhupada?
Oh, they all do in England. They all do that.
Okay,
Yeah,
forget
yeah. That's how they get votes from Indian people, Raghunath.
They all do. Okay. All right. Okay. We all bow down.
All right.
All right. With that being said, let's move on.
So let's have a little recap here because it's been a while, right? At least a couple of days. We did one show without you, actually. Oh, it was heavy too. Robert.
How'd that go?
It was heavy.
How'd it go?
It went well.
Was it better with me, without me? That's my question.
Raghunath, come
You
on,
wanna know
you don't.
God
you
honest
don't even
truth.
Raghunath, you don't even have to ask that question.
It's Guruji, please.
Guruji, sorry, Guruji.
Just for this show, you call me Guruji.
Okay, Guruji. Guruji, no, but we had
He's frozen
we
or
had
he's in samadhi.
no,
Maybe
no,
me saying that made him enter samadhi.
you're the one that's freezing up, not me. But no, we had Kelly Skinner and we had Amrita Kishore and we read Bhagavatam. It was nice. But you can hear me now, Raghunath? You with me? Yeah. Yes. Okay, I hope you are. So we read about, this whole thing is a story of someone's life, right? Narada Muni, who's this greatest of bhakti yoga sages, is sitting down with a king who's kind of a pious man, but he's had his impious moments and he's trying to be religious and he's hopeful that he's going to have a good destination in his future spiritually and all that. But Narada is really coming and cutting to the core, helping him understand why he's not happy, helping him understand what he needs to do. But he's telling it through an allegory, telling it through a story. It followed a fictional king's life and his ups and downs. And then in this chapter, it came to his death. Right, or in the last chapter, and now it's going to continue, and where he goes from there. And the verses that we read last time, a couple of days ago, they had to do with, it was pointing out that in his life, how he had engaged sexually, as well as in terms of violence, sex and violence, right? That these two,
Sex and violence.
yeah,
Isn't that a band or a song?
I don't know.
Sex and violence. Sex and violence. Okay, go on.
Was that, I don't know, GBH or something like that?
Sex and violence. GBH maybe.
One
One of those British punk
Exploited
bands.
or something like that. Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, Exploited.
Yeah. Okay. So they kind of all merged. Some of those post
Discharge
second wave.
Exploited GBH was all one band.
Those second wave, punk bands from England kind of merged into one. But okay. So
Anti-Nowhere League.
okay. Yeah, I do. So but we heard about, due to his lack of care you know, in our lives, we're going to come across sexuality, we're going to come across violence. And if we don't, the yogi's very careful. Ahimsa, brahmacharya, these become really important principles in the yogi's life. What's being shown, what was spoken about then was he had to suffer in his afterlife because of this, right? Particularly about that violence towards animals that he committed. It created a lot of pain for
You know
him.
what's interesting, Kostubji?
Yeah.
You don't just suffer. It's not like you're going to be punished and go to hell. It's like you suffer in this life for indulgence in illicit sex, multiple partners. People suffer mentally. They suffer physically. They become distraught. They can't have intimacy in their life. It wreaks havoc on it wreaks havoc on a person's mental state and or physical state. And then the same thing with violence. We don't realize it, but there is a price you pay when you're not conscious about what you're consuming or consuming things that were born. There's a lot of bloodshed on the hands of people who consume that. And there's some karma you got to get for that. And you get it actually immediately. And I only know this because, when I got into vegetarianism, you probably know this. I first gave up regular meat except fish, because fish was, I told you this story. Fish was like my connection with nature. I'd go fishing. I'd go to this, pond in the forest, and I always liked it. It touched my heart. But after a year of not eating animals for a conscious reason, I decided to go fishing one day. And I tell you, it changed me. I could barely put the worm on the hook. And I realized I've become more sensitive to the pain of other people, of other beings. And that is huge. And you may not realize it, but that showed me a genuine metric, how I can, I've changed. Something's changed with me. And I think if the world starts cluing into that type of thing where you become sensitive and you become sensitive to the pain of other beings, you've got a radically different world out there. So it's not like these threats, like you better stop doing this, or you're going to go to hell, and you're going to be punished, and your dogs are going to rip apart your body and stuff like that in your next life. In this life, you're going to suffer for these things. You're not going to be peaceful. I think I'd say it's safe to say, me being the genius that I am, if you have multiple sexual partners, you're going to be disturbed in your mind. You're not going to be peaceful. It's going to lead to other mental disorders. The mind has to become steady and fixed to practice yoga. And part of it is to regulate your sense gratification and not indulge in it. And it won't give you what you want, which is deeper happiness.
I'm with you, Guruji. Thank you. Okay. So thank you. Now, blessings. Okay, and so now King Paranjana, the fictional character, he had to suffer in his afterlife. The commentators is not so much as mentioned here, but they say he went up and he went down. Right? He went up to the heavens and he enjoyed there. Then he went down to the hells and he suffered there, and now he's taking birth again. His next earthly birth is being described in this text 28. And he was a man. Guess what, Raghunath? He's coming back as a woman this time. Right? We identify, I'm a man, I'm a woman. We're not. You can come back the other way next time.
I know. Mayor's a man. I'm a woman. Just like that. I've been really using this analogy a lot. Every time someone sneezes, you change your body.
All right.
Like your life is sort of so fast. We think it's, I'm living 70 years. These guys 90 years old is nothing.
Okay.
90 years old is nothing. That is like a longer sneeze. Choo. That's 90. Achoo. That's 55.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That's like 7. The idea is people die at all different ages, and it's still just a sneeze in the grander scope of reality. And 1 minute I think I'm an American, New York, Italian dude. And in the next minute, I'm Mara, and the next minute I'm a frog, or whatever it is, whatever the crazy Ferris wheel of desires I have, I'm creating my next body by what I'm meditating on a regular basis. Hey, well, I can see that in the Fibonacci spiral of my little life here, right? If I meditate, suppose I got posters of sort of like Kiss on my wall, or the band Kiss or the Rolling Stones or some rock and roll band or something, then I want to start to act like those guys or take on, or sort of like all those mafia movies or, what are those movies like?
Goodfellas.
Like The Godfather. You start acting like those players in The Godfather, and you might want to even dress like them. Or if you've got models or whatever it is, we desire certain people and we hold them as sort of dropped pins or landmarks of who I want to be on my road of life. We look up to them, we idolize them, we hear their words in movies or in songs, and then we move towards them. But who are they that we're moving towards? And eventually we create a body or a persona that looks like some of our favorite, celebrities, sports stars, etc. That's why, when we were back in the band days, all the, clothing companies, the skate companies and stuff, like, hey, you want some free clothes? You want some free Vans? Because they understand that people are going to look up to the bands and they want to dress like the bands and sell their products. So we have these people that we're looking up to, and then we're becoming like them. This is a micro Fibonacci spiral version of who we are and who we become. And we do that in a greater way by our thoughts, by our consciousness on a regular basis. You want to enjoy sense gratification, there's a perfect body that you can do it in. And the human body is sometimes not fit for the type of sense gratification you want to enjoy. Or sometimes you just are meditating on the opposite sex, and therefore you get a body from the opposite sex or whatever. But we're creating it with our thoughts.
Thank you, Guruji.
Are you ready? Guruji has spoken.
Text 28.
Text 28. King Puranjana gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently, in his next life, he became a very beautiful and well-situated woman. He took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidarbha in the very house of the king.
Okay.
They say that souls travel in clusters, Kastuba.
Who says?
Who says? I just made that up.
Where do you get that
all my
from?
reincarnation books I read sort of allude to that.
Okay. But so yeah, here the king he's taken birth. Now this next stage is going to be an auspicious one. This next birth for the king as a woman and as a daughter of King Vidarbha. He's going to talk about his marriage or her marriage now, and she marries this king who represents Bhakti, right? So now she's going to get connected to Bhakti. There's going to be a fortunate turn here, and at the end of this life, towards the end of her life, she's going to be visited by the Paramatma. Paramatma is going to speak to her, and so it's great stuff coming up. But now we're hearing about, okay, she took birth in the house of a king. Next verse, text 29.
I feel like we're very calm today and very paced and very sort of.
Things have changed. You said that, Raghunath. Things have
No,
changed.
I meant I don't know. There's something different about me today. I feel maybe it was the bathing in the Ganga before the show.
It was the Ganga.
Maybe I should do this every day. Bathe in the Ganga before the show, and
Raghunath,
I feel focused.
Back in Delhi, you were hangry.
I was hangry. I was very hangry. I was hangry. I'm actually a little hangry right now. I've been traveling all day. But I'm maybe a cross between hangry and completely self-realized. That might be it.
Yeah.
29. It was fixed that Vaidarbhi, daughter of the king of Vidarbha, was to be married to the very powerful man, Malayadvaj, an inhabitant of the Pandu country. After conquering the other princes, he married the daughter of King Vidarbha.
So he conquered
King Malayadvaj.
Hold on, Raghunath. So he conquered he conquered his senses, and he married this. And he became such a qualified person for her to marry. So it says King Malayadvaj was a great devotee. This is what Prabhupada writes. King Malayadvaj was a great devotee, and after he married the daughter of King Vidarbha, he gave her one nice daughter. Oh, did we read that yet? Oh, that's next text. Okay, read next text 30. Hit it.
I'm going to hold on you one of these days.
What do you mean?
I'm going to go, hold on, Kastuba. Hold on.
You can do that anytime you want.
You.
Go ahead. You can do it right now if you want.
King Malayadvaj fathered one daughter who had very black eyes. Interesting. He also, I guess it means
What do you think it means?
what it means, actually.
I'm going to tell you what it means in a moment.
You know, beautiful, dark eyes. Okay. He also had 7 sons who later became rulers of that tract of land known as Dravida.
Mhm.
Thus, there were 7 kings in that land.
Do you know where the
My
Dravida,
dear King Prachini Barishat.
Do you know where the Dravida area is?
I think it's in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, it's like the South
that correct?
India. Yeah, South India. Okay. So now let's hear. This is
I impressed Mara.
okay.
Impressed Mara.
So King Malayadvaj was a great devotee, and after he married the daughter of King Vidarbha, he gave her one nice daughter whose eyes were black.
Yes.
Figuratively, this means that the daughter of King Malayadvaj was also bestowed with devotional service, with bhakti. For her eyes were always fixed on Krishna. Krishna is very dark.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's why we need commentators on this book.
Yeah.
Or it sounds like she's got 2 black eyes.
He writes, a devotee has no vision in their life other than Krishna. Okay. Now, they're seeing Krishna everywhere, Raghunath, right? Is that how?
Seeing Krishna everywhere. Even when I was at the Ganga, I was
Since
praying
you
to the Ganga.
become-
Please
since you
give me
be-
Krishna Bhakti. Oh, Ganga Devi, you have Bhakti. Please give me Krishna Bhakti.
There you go. Now, the 7 sons are the 7 processes of devotional service. Hearing,
Interesting. Let's see if Mara
chanting.
knows him. Let's see if Mara knows him while we got her here.
in Sanskrit.
Sanskrit first.
S-
In the mic, please.
Kirtanam, Smaranam, No, hold on. What I'm missing the first one.
Shravanam,
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna get them in the right order, I don't think.
Okay.
Das,
You got 3 so far.
Archanam,
4.
Dasyam,
Okay. 5.
Atmanavedanam, that's the last one.
6.
What
is that? Give a little clues, right? What is it?
I know Krishna drew.
Okay, well, let's put Raghunath on the spot. Can you say it in Sanskrit, the whole verse, Raghunath?
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smartam. Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanavedanam.
Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, right? Shravanam Kirtanam
Padyam,
Vishnu.
Padyam, Padasevanam.
Padasevanam is there.
Padasevanam.
Yeah. There's 9, right? But here it's mentioning just 7. Let's so
Oh, well, I definitely got it right then.
this,
I almost got
that made it easier. The 7 sons are the 7 processes of devotional service: hearing, chanting, remembering, offering worship, offering prayers, rendering transcendental
Vandanam.
loving, vandanam, rendering transcendental loving service, dasyam, right, and serving the lotus feet, padasevanam, of the Lord. Of the 9 types of devotional service, only 7 were immediately given. The balance, friendship, and surrendering everything, sakyam atmanavedanam, were to be
I was
developed.
trying to charade. I was trying to charade Sakyam. Like I was hugging
Oh, I see.
myself
That's what that was.
like a friend.
So those were to be developed later. So there's an idea here that, like, it's particularly in it's like in the northern Indian traditions, like coming from Chaitanya, coming from Vallabha, and so on, where those where Dasyam and where Sakyam and Atmanavedanam were fully developed. Anyway, interesting, right? Okay, text 31.
Yeah,
Raghunath, hit it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Text 31. My dear King Prachini Barshat, the sons of Malayadvaj gave birth to many thousands and thousands of sons, and all of these have been protecting the entire world up to the end of one Manu's lifespan, and even afterward.
Okay, let's
So
focus.
Manu is the father of mankind, right?
Yes, with the different manus that are different kind of, like, rulers that rule for very long periods of time, over the universe. And here it's saying that Malayadvaj gave birth, that the sons of Malayadvaj gave birth to many, many thousands and thousands of sons. So the sons were these different practices of bhakti, and the many thousands and thousands of grandsons, these are like all the different varieties of devotional practices that stem from it. right? Like just like you're going to Puri and you're seeing a particular manifestation of bhakti taking place there, and a particular flavor handed down by, you know, in a particular lineage or lineages and so on. And now you're up in Rishikesh and there's another flavor of bhakti there, you know, in a bit of a different way, having come down. So it's like it's spread out and it's manifested, but the real true bhakti will manifest in these authentic lineages, and it's carefully handed down, you know. And that's what Prabhupada gets to in this commentary here. There's like some really important stuff. Why don't I read a bit of this? Yeah,
Sure.
I'll read a bit, and I think we can kind of flesh this out a bit or fluff it out. Among Vaishnavas, Prabhupada writes, there may be some different opinion due to everyone's personal identity. That's an important statement right there, right? It's like,
Sure,
we're all human beings. We have different identities, different bodies that we're in, different places that we grew up, different psychophysical natures, you know, we're all individuals. And he's saying among Vaishnavas, there may be some differences of opinion. It's not the end of the world. That's okay, right? Due to everyone's personal identity. But despite all personal...
Viva la difference, Kostuba. Viva la difference.
Yes. But despite all personal differences, now Prabhupada uses the word cult here, right? He's using it in a different way than it's normally used now, but he's the culture.
I like the word cult.
I know you do, but you want to be a cult. You want to be a cult leader. That's why you like it. That's right. They're calling you Guruji now. But the cult or the culture of, he says, despite all these personal differences, the cult or the culture of Krishna consciousness must go on. He says, we can see that under the instructions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, they began preaching the Krishna consciousness movement in a very organized way within the past 100 years. Prabhupada's giving a little history saying this is how Bhakti spread to the West, right? He's about to say this is how it spread around the whole world. He said the disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami are all God brothers. And he's one of them, right? So now he's speaking about himself and his God brothers. And although there are some differences of opinion, and although we are not acting conjointly, every one of us is spreading Krishna consciousness movement according to their own capacity and producing many disciples to spread it all over the world. Okay.
Wow.
He says, as far as we are concerned, you know, himself, he says, as far as we are concerned, we have already started the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and many thousands of Europeans and Americans have joined this movement. Indeed, it is spreading like wildfire, Prabhupada says, right? And it really was in his time, right? He says the cult...
Well, it is now, too. It's just all in Russia.
Well, in India,
Russia is like wildfire.
In India, it's like wildfires.
Some of our guys went to the temple in Puri. There's an ISKCON temple in Puri. It's like everyone was Russian.
Okay. He says the cult of Krishna consciousness based on the 9 principles of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smarnam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Abhinavednam, will never be stopped. It will go on without distinction of caste, creed, color, or country. No one can check it. Interesting, right? No one can check it. It will spread.
Yeah.
He said, now he says, the word bokshate is very important in this verse. Just as the king gives protections to his citizens, these devotees, following the principles of devotional service, will give protection to all people of the world. Now Prabhupada's talking about how bhakti is handed down and how it protects one from suffering in life, you know. The people of the world are very much harassed by so-called religious principled svāmīs, yogīs, karmis, and gyanis. And Prabhupada's going to start to call people out here, right? He says, but none of these can show the right way to become elevated to the spiritual platform. There are primarily 4 parties spreading devotional service all over the universe. These are, now he's going to talk about the different lineages of bhakti, right? The Ramanuja Sampradaya. Sampradaya means? You there?
You quizzing me?
Yeah.
It's a spiritual, it's a bona fide spiritual lineage.
Yeah.
Coming down from, Bhagavan.
Okay. So there's the Ramanuja Sampradaya. There's the Madhva Sampradaya, the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, and the Nimbarka Sampradaya. These are 4 lineages of Krishna Bhakti that are, you know, seen as real, right? Seen as authorized. These aren't fakers. These aren't charlatans. These are like long established lineages that have incredibly insightful teachers that are handing down these teachings.
You know, it's Prabhu, it's like the telephone game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you say something completely a little wrong, and then it comes out to the next person way wrong, to the third person really wrong. And when you get down 10 generations down, they say something completely different.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just that it's not like even necessarily people are trying to be nefarious. They could even have a good intention, but they could just be sort of like an insightful, self-claimed guru. And then all of a sudden a tradition starts around them. And this happens a lot. You see it today. A tradition starts around them, but that person themselves is not connected to any lineage. They're sort of hodgepodging like a salad bar, taking a little bit from here, a little bit from there. And it doesn't give you the desired results as one of these bona fide traditions.
And you know, well, this is something that we could get into. Let me just complete this. There's just a sentence or two left, but I think it's worth something that we discuss. He says, so he lists these 4 sampradayas, and then he says the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, in particular, comes from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All these devotees, as he's saying, all 4 lineages, the people coming in all 4 lineages, are spreading this Krishna consciousness movement very widely in giving protection to innocent people who are being so much embarrassed by pseudo-avatāras, svāmīs, yogīs, and others. Okay, now what Prabhupada's doing here is something that, like, you don't always hear coming from, let's say, popular guru figures, right? But Prabhupada's saying is, and let's get realistic, right? Every good thing in this world, you know, there's always going to be someone that's going to come at it with ill intention, or, you know, or try to exploit it in some way for their own personal benefit. Sure. And so he's saying there are genuine bona fide lineages where great care was taken to preserve this, where the people are approaching it with humility and with sincerity. And then let's face it, there's also a lot of cheaters out there. There's a lot of people. There's people with very mixed motives. And you know, there's a beautiful sentiment, which is that when we're on a spiritual path, we should be mature enough to recognize genuine spirituality in other paths and respect it, right? Honor it. But we may come to that having been turned off by sectarianism in its many forms.
Sure.
So we're exposed to sectarianism, the shallowness of it, people thinking only our way is right, everybody else is bad, you know, and then you swing the other way.
Protestants hate the Catholics. Catholics hate the Protestants. We're going to go to war over this.
Yeah.
Or the same as happens in
rather
Muslim
than
communities.
Yeah, recognize the common
commonality.
Yeah. But one can naturally, and a lot of times people coming from the Judeo-Christian, you know, traditions, if they see that sectarianism, they turn from it. They turn to the East. They turn to Hinduism, where they see a greater level of acceptance. But then they kind of like swing it a little bit too far that way, where it's like, oh, everything is good, everyone is good, you know. Not necessarily. Just and the things that they would never tolerate in the Christian religion, somehow they give a pass to over here. But you got people with the same kind of frailties and same kind of ill motivations over here too. And so Srila Prabhupada is saying people, and in India, people are really, well, you know what? It's not just India; it's all around the world. But people are really prone to kind of buying it. Someone comes and they, you know, like you were almost like joking earlier, you know, like, you know, someone starts to call you Guruji, and then you get some followers, and then the followers start to think that you're God, and then you let them believe that, and then you do a little magic tricks,
Yeah.
and you play into the whole thing, and there's a lot of these big time popular gurus that this is exactly what they're doing. They're not.
I've got a few magic tricks for Bill.
Do you? What do you
There's
got?
a thumb thing I do with the
Okay,
thumb
right.
separating from the pointer finger. It looks like it's.
I can
show
do this
that to my
thing with a pencil.
disciples, and they're complete. Oh yeah, the rubber pencil one. All my disciples fall at my feet when I do the rubber pencil trick.
But actually, some of them do things that are just as silly as that, practically. Like they, for real.
Pulling
But-
the lingams from their mouth.
Yeah. And so what Srila Prabhupada is saying is be careful. Now, if you go to Bhagavad Gita, right, the very important verse is often quoted, in relation to this, evam parampara praptam,
Evam paraparam praptam.
imam rajasriyo vidhu, sakala neha mahata, yoga nashta parantapa. Right, that the supreme science, the science of yoga, right, it was received through the chain of disciplic succession, right? And the saintly kings understood it in that way, right? The leaders of society were taught this through these lineages. But in course of time, the succession was broken, like you're saying. It can be like, time has this way of deteriorating things. And therefore, the science as it appears, the science as it is appears to be lost. And then the next verse, what is it? Mayeviyam mayatedya yoga prokta paratana. Right? Bhaktosime sakacheti rahasyam hetadutamam. That this very ancient science of yoga, right, of the relationship of one with the Supreme, is Krishna saying, I'm telling it to you today, Arjuna. And why? What's his qualification for understanding it? What's his qualification for entering into the lineage, right? To connect to it. He says, because you're my devotee as well as my friend, and therefore you can understand the transcendental mystery of this science, right? And so he's emphasizing the importance of lineage, that's how the yoga science is handed down. And he's emphasizing the way that a disciple approaches it. You approach it as a devotee, you approach it as a friend, you're approaching it not to take something, that you use for your selfish purpose, but you're approaching it as a devotee, as one that's giving, right?
There is a balance in what you're saying. I like what you're saying. There's a balance between being like all inclusive, where everything is good, where you throw discernment out the window. We're not asking, and the Vedic teachers and the masters are not asking you to throw discernment away. You always got to keep discernment as your best friend, or else you don't know what you're getting mixed up with. But we don't go to the other side where we're just criticizing. We train ourselves in not to criticize. But just because we don't criticize doesn't mean we say, you know what, that's not appropriate. Or you know what, that's not bona fide. And to even enter into lineage, this is one reason why we're doing the podcast is it's not like Kostuba's trying to sell us on, hey, take a quick initiation. Or so you're not trying to sell me on this, and I'm not trying to sell it. We're trying to sell what the sages said. We're not the wisdom of the sages. We're just passing down what the sages said. And by hearing the Bhagavatam on a regular basis, you can get out the entire backstory of where all yogic teachings are going. And therefore, it develops discernment. You're not going to have any discernment going to India. Everybody looks the same. You can have a guy who's a black magic practitioner. They're going to look, in one sense, they're going to wear a robe. They're going to have a beard. They're going to have some type of tilak on their head. And they could be they could be the equivalent of Aleister Crowley, but you could have
Rasputin.
Yeah. So it's sort of like everybody sort of looks the same. You need to develop discernment. And one of the questions that I like is like, now, I don't even want to know if the guy's a nice guy or not, because everybody's a nice guy. I'm sure you could, have dinner with the son of Sam or some serial killer, and he could act like a nice guy. It doesn't mean he's not going to go out and do something nefarious. Everybody's a nice guy. Don't want to hear that. I want to hear, what's the conclusion of your teachings? Who is your teacher? What is your lineage? Where are you getting this information from? You told me A. Where are you getting this from? Oh, you got it from your teacher? What's your teacher's teacher? And stuff like that. Yeah. Otherwise, you develop a cult of personality. And like I said earlier, it's not because maybe the guys are not evil. They could just be like charismatic people, and all of a sudden they have these followers, and they don't have the common sense to realize like you're supposed to be part of some lineage, as the Vedas teach. And they start accepting disciples. 4 generations later, you have a whole you know, cult of personality that's developed 200 years ago.
I think
Mhm.
that you know, we could. One thing I'm noticing, Raghunath, even like in recently, relatively recently, is because Krishna Bhakti has spread worldwide, right, within the past few decades. And even within the past decade, there's a certain momentum behind it. It's growing. Awareness of it is growing. People are beginning to see it stand out amongst the different, you know, broad variety of forms of Hinduism. It's spreading to the West. It's being seen as beautiful. It talks about love, right? It sees love as the
Everybody
highest principle.
wants love.
It's attractive. You know, it's beautiful and it's attractive.
It's attractive.
I'm seeing that now new groups or quote unquote gurus are springing up. They're wearing the tilak, right? You know, like Vaishnava tilak. You know, they're giving initiation into chanting, you know, Mahamantra and so on. But they're not coming in parampara, and you can see. Not, I've been trained to see, you know, that what we're really looking at here is a personality cult. This whole idea, you see, when these teachers or gurus, they're coming forward and they're not clearly identifying the lineage they come from, and that they are merely a representative, right? This is my role. You go to Srila Prabhupada again and again. I am nothing special. I am simply representing, you know, representing what the teachings of these lineages are as they've been handed down. It's not me. And the devotion that you have isn't for me as a person. It's for God. And I'm directing you towards God. It's not, you know, George Harrison had a nice thing about that, where he was saying, you know, like how much he appreciated Srila Prabhupada. And he said, you know, he was never like these others that were always kind of like making themselves the center of the whole thing. Nobody even knows Prabhupada's name. Like everybody knows Hare Krishna. Nobody even knows Prabhupada's A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. You know, hardly anybody. He wasn't putting himself forward. Prabhupada, but what George Harrison was saying is, he was always saying, I am just the servant of the servant of the servant. You know, your devotion is meant to go to Krishna. And so, like, when you are not, like, for instance, I'll give my own, you know, like, certainly whenever there's this idea of surrendering your life, surrendering your heart, surrendering your time, you know, I was encouraged to surrender my youth, my energy, you know, my intelligence and my words and my time. You know, I didn't have any money, you know, but I was encouraged to surrender it all. But I was encouraged to surrender it all to God, right? It wasn't like I was given a charismatic figure that I was meant to fall in love with. I met a lot of charismatic figures, but they were always pointing me not to them, but that they're pointing me to surrender my life to God. And so I'm seeing these within, like, they're taking on some of the externals of the Krishna Bhakti traditions with the tilak and speaking of rasa, speaking of Radha and Krishna's love and so on, you know, but they're not saying control your senses. You know, like the things that we don't want to hear. Yeah,
forgot that part.
Learn to become a real yogi. You know, like control your senses and genuine surrender, not pretentious kind of, you know, presentations, but like really just practical. Like, let's follow these teachings. They're not my teachings. I'm representing them.
Yeah. In my own life, that I really appreciated that too. When I went to a class, I felt like, oh wait, we're reading from this same book again. We're reading the commentaries of the previous masters again. Yeah. This isn't about this guru. This is about a lineage. They're teaching me something ancient. And that's sort of what attracted me, because I was attracted to so many different yoga sects, not yoga sex, yoga sects. Before this, and I felt like, okay, I get it. There's no one getting in the way between me and God. That's how I felt.
Yeah, right.
We're running late, man. It's 6:28. It's 6:28, brother.
So we got a couple
We'll
of
get to
minutes
some-
left.
oh,
Let me
13
let's
minutes,
let's
sorry.
just wrap this up. Let's just wrap this up, Raghunath.
Okay.
Because this is such an important topic. But I would say that if you become attracted to bhakti and you're seeing that people are out there presenting it, look into it. See, are they actually presenting one of these authorized lineages, or do they have a personality that's kind of posing as like everybody's fawning at this personality and everything, but that personality is not quoting Shastra, right? It's more like, these are my realizations, and they're not directing your devotion.
That's what it is. Yeah, these are my realizations, and
Yeah.
this is why our senses are so attuned to this. Is we don't buy it. We don't
Right.
buy it if someone said, "I had a vision. I had a vision. It was my vision," and from that vision, now you have to accept me.
Right.
There's a lot of room for nonsense when people
Whole
they
lot of
put
room.
themselves as this great visionary, as this great vision. I saw this, and now surrender to me.
Right.
Be careful with that.
and
I'd
if
be very
they're-
careful with that.
And if they're quick to offer you initiation without demanding that you become a real yogi first and learn to control yourself, they're just collecting followers, And if they're doing little magic tricks, then they're just trying to captivate you to become their follower, And if they're not quoting
The
Shastra,
rubber pencil trick is not real.
okay,
It's not real, people.
or other tricks like taking things out of their mouth and making, they do these things, like making things appear, and quite frankly, if there's pervasive rumors about their sexual habits, they're most likely true. Any saint, that there's people up making rumors about them, but within these groups, if there's pervasive talk
Yeah.
about, that there's sexual misbehavior, you better give that some serious attention, You better give that some serious attention. And so any case, it's a wonderful thing that Krishna Bhakti is spreading more, but let's be careful. There's really authorized lineage. Prabhupada's not being sectarian. He's saying it's not just my lineage. There's other really bona fide, ancient, real, authentic traditions that are handing down Krishna Bhakti. But there's also others out there too that are doing other stuff in the name
You
of
know
it.
what? Discern. Don't criticize, but discern.
There you go.
How about that?
Okay.
T-shirt.
Don't criticize, but discern. Yeah, any other takeaways, Mara? What you got over there?
good.
Mara, I noticed that Mara, her earrings look like the kaja, the frosted flakes from Jagannath Puri. Did you notice that? Right?
Juggernaut
Yes.
tongues.
Yeah.
Okay. Takeaways. You suffer in this life for overindulgence.
You do.
No reaction.
Yeah, you guys want to say about
Read the
Raghunath?
chat
Read the
board.
chat board. He's
Sorry.
gone.
What was it again? Say it again. Say it again.
You suffer in this life for overindulgence.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's a price you pay if you aren't conscious of what you consume.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Develop
Oh, yeah.
sensitivity to develop sensitivity to other beings to radically change the world.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
90 years old is nothing, just a longer sneeze.
It's a longer sneeze. That's 90.
You move toward who you meditate on.
That's a Raghu one right
Yeah.
there. I picked that up from you, Raghu.
Mhm.
Yeah, you keep that. You like it. You keep it.
Thank you.
A
You are
devotee has no
Guruji.
vision-
You are so gracious. Thank you.
A devotee has no vision other than Krishna.
I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I like that.
Dark eyes.
Don't criticize, but discern.
T-shirt.
Speaking of t-shirt, we're between hangry and self-realized.
Mm-hmm.
That's got the name of my book.
Yeah,
Somewhere between
hangry.
angry and self-real.
And the rubber pencil trick is not real.
The rubber pencil.
Phony.
thing. Woo! It's
All right.
phony. I don't hear the music, Astuba.
Here it is. It's
Is
right
it
here.
there? Oh, well, thank you everybody for joining us. And thank of our posse. Say hello to everybody in our posse. Remember, Patreon members, you can get a free ticket to see John V. Harrison. A pair of free tickets to see John V. Harrison in Dallas, Chicago, and LA. All you got to do is email Mara.
wisdomofthesage108@gmail.com.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us. We've been traveling all day, so we're going to eat. But thanks everybody. And we're going to be back on the show tomorrow, 8 o'clock your time. Haribo, 5:30. Let the magic continue. It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day.
All right, Raghu. Thank you, Guruji.